The Book Baker presents
A Coin's Life by Eva Cherian. I dedicate this book to my younger brother. I happily looked around the factory. I was a new coin, minted only a few hours ago. I spotted a mirror and curiously looked at myself in it. At first, I thought it was the reflection of another coin. The reflection gleamed like a shiny diamond. It was perfect, beautiful, and the best coin I had seen in the factory. There were plenty of coins in the factory, but no other coin looked as good as this one. I looked around to see whose reflection it was. There was no one there. I looked back at the mirror and realized that it was my own reflection. I felt astonished. Those workers had really put in a lot of effort to make me. It had been painful too because the machines they had used were rough and hurt me. But now it was over and I was ready. I was going to look at myself in the mirror again when a huge hand picked me up. I felt scared and looked up to see who was taking me away. It was a big man. He put me in a jar that he was holding. Then he continued walking. He suddenly stopped and bent down. He picked up another coin and dropped it in the jar. Ow! I cried out as the coin bumped into me. Sorry, whispered the coin. Another coin dropped down. Ow! I yelped again. Coins kept dropping down until the jar was full. I was squashed in the bottom. The jar was transparent, so I could look out. The man carried us out of the factory and across the wide grounds. After 5 minutes, the man stepped onto a noisy road. Vehicles beeped and hooted. The man crossed the road. I noticed that there was a small hole right next to me. It was only just big enough for a coin to fall through. I tried to avoid it, but as the man continued walking, I moved closer and closer to the hole. Then a coin accidentally brushed against me and I tumbled down the hole. I fell onto the sidewalk. I wondered whether I would lie there forever. Then a small hand lifted me up and a young boy said, Daddy, I found a coin. Can I take it home? All right, agreed his father. The boy smiled happily and put me in his pocket. The pocket was dark. There didn't seem to be anything else inside it. The boy continued walking. Soon he took me out. I looked around. I was in a small room. Was it his bedroom? I thought. He carried me to a dog shaped box. There was a small slit on the top of it. He pushed me inside. There were 5 or 6 more coins apart from me. They were all asleep. I lay down feeling bored. After half an hour, I heard the boy coming into the room. I sat up eagerly. He opened the dog shaped box and lifted me out. Then he ran out of his room and down the stairs. A man was sitting on the couch in the living room. He smiled when he saw me. Give me the coin, Ricky, he said. I'll show you how to spin it. Ricky handed me over and the man put me on the floor, placing one finger on my head. Then he struck me on the side. Ow! I shouted as I spun across the floor. I was really wishing that I wouldn't get hurt so often. I spun round and round until I finally crashed onto the floor. Ricky tried it. They both seemed to enjoy hitting me on the side and watching me spin. I was soon feeling giddy. After 20 minutes, they both stopped spinning me to eat their lunch. They forgot all about me. I lay on the floor, wishing that I was with the other coins. Soon, the doorbell rang. I looked across to see who it was. It was a tall, thin lady. She held a broom. She began sweeping the floor. I shivered with fear as she moved closer and closer. The broom swished and swept, coming closer. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was sitting in the dustpan with waste paper, plastic, cardboard, and lots of other dry waste. Then the lady lifted up the dustpan and carried it to a black plastic bag. She emptied the dustpan and walked away. I fell down into the plastic bag. The lady came back and emptied the dustpan again. She did that 4 or 5 times until the bag was half full. Then she tied up the bag and carried it away. I asked the plastic bottle, "What will happen to us?" "They will throw us in the waste dump," he answered sadly. I was terrified. The lady stopped suddenly. She dumped us down and untied the sack. I peeped outside. The man and Ricky seemed to be searching for something. I wondered what had happened. "What happened, sir?" asked the lady. The man replied, "I am going for a long voyage at sea, and I was carrying my purse to put it in my bag when I tripped and fell. The coins scattered everywhere. There were exactly 100 gold coins, and we have only found 10. The lady said, "Maybe I might spot some while cleaning." She took out her broom and began sweeping. She emptied the dustpan. Just then, she spotted me and exclaimed, "I found a coin. I must have accidentally thrown it out." She seemed to think that I was one of the missing gold coins that had fallen out of the purse. I was thrilled. Now I would be going for a long trip at sea. The lady picked me up and put me in the purse. There were some more gold coins in that. They all looked excited. Soon, all the coins were found, and the man put the purse in his pocket. He walked outside and into his car. Then he drove off. I felt so excited. Soon, the car stopped and the man got out. The place we were in seemed very noisy, with people shouting and calling to other people. The man walked a long distance. Then he began to walk upwards. Then he stopped. I could hear the sound of waves splashing all around us. "We are on the ship," I realized. I waited for 10 minutes. Suddenly, I felt the boat jerk. I immediately sat up eagerly. The ship slowly moved away from the docks. We sailed for a long time. I enjoyed the sound of the waves splashing on the side of the ship. Soon I felt sleepy. I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up and looked around. I was feeling very happy when I heard a loud, scary boom. There had been plenty of loud noises at the factory, but this was much louder. The purse was slightly open, so I looked out just as a yellow streak shot out of the sky, stayed for a second, and disappeared. It lit up the dark room. I was feeling really afraid now. Then our owner raced into the room and snatched the purse before running off to the deck. He zipped open the purse and pulled all the coins, including me, out of the purse. He pushed all of us into his pocket, saying, "I hope the coins will be safe." I was at the top, sticking out so I saw everything. It was raining heavily. Even though it was late morning, the sky was dark and stormy. Huge black clouds covered the sky. Thunder boomed loudly. Lightning flashed down, lighting up the huge, terrifying waves that crashed on the ship. The waves were monsters trying to swallow us. The ship creaked. I knew it would break. A man shouted, "Go below deck! Go to your cabins!" All the sailors raced down, dropping everything they were holding. Our owner ran too. I fell out of his pocket. As the ship lurched about, I slid on the slippery deck, straight into the dark, terrifying water. Then I went underwater. The waves pounded at me. I floated for a long time. After many hours, the storm stopped. I was floating on calm, gentle waters. After a while, I spotted a boat. I floated near it. Then a wave pushed me underwater. I saw a net floating next to me. "Don't catch me," I thought, but the very next second, the net caught me. I was stuck in it. The net was pulled up. The net pulled me higher and higher until I popped out of the net, right next to a smelly bucket. I looked around and saw that I was on a small boat. A man stood next to me. When he saw that I was a coin, he cried out joyfully, I have got a coin, a real pure gold coin. As he rowed back to shore eagerly, he kept looking happily at me. I noticed that he seemed very poor. He wore tattered old clothes. His net was full of holes. Then I looked around and saw land. I was delighted. I wanted to be dry and cozy. Was he a fisherman? I thought. A shark underwater had told me that fishermen were cruel. They killed fish and sold them to survive. This fisherman didn't seem cruel. I heard a scraping sound and saw that we were on land. The fisherman pulled up his boat and took out the bucket of fish. He walked back to his home. As he walked, I looked around. This seemed like a nice, quiet place. There were no big, noisy vehicles. Instead, people walked from one place to another. The houses were much smaller than the houses near the factory. They were made out of sticks or mud. A lady who must have been his wife was busy cutting wood in front of her house, which was the tiniest house I had ever seen. There was a well near her, with a bucket dangling from a rope beside it. When she saw the fisherman, she asked, What have you got today? The fisherman showed her his bucket of fish and me. When she saw me, she gasped. Where did you get that? She asked, pointing at me. I fished it out in my fishing net. The fisherman answered, smiling. Come inside, said his wife. We'll eat a fish each today and sell the rest tomorrow at the market. You can also buy something else with that coin. They must be really poor if they eat only one fish for dinner. I thought. The fisherman took me inside. I stared around. There was nothing inside except for a makeshift fireplace, a shelf with some clothes and jars, and two mattresses rolled up in a corner. There were also two plates and glasses. The fisherman placed me on the shelf and I watched them cook food. Soon the food was ready. The fisherman and his wife gobbled it up hungrily. Then the fisherman went out and came back with some water. He poured it into a glass and drank from it thirstily. Then he gathered up the glasses and bones of the fish and went outside. His wife spread out the mattresses and lay down. The fisherman came back, holding two dripping wet glasses. He placed them back on the shelf and lay down. Then he fell asleep. I fell asleep too. I woke up in the morning. The fisherman had finished his breakfast. The sun was just coming up. He, he must wake up really early, I thought. He took his bucket of fish and me and walked out of the house. After a while, he reached an area as noisy as the factory. Fruits and vegetables were everywhere. The fisherman's mouth watered. He walked up to the fruit counter and bought 2 apples, 3 mangoes, 5 carrots, and some spices. He also sold his fish. He handed me over to the shopkeeper who put me in a box. A fly managed to slip in and disturb me for a long time. It was so annoying. Finally, the shopkeeper took me out and gave me to a woman along with some notes and packets. I saw 2 children beside her. The 3 of them walked back and got into a car. The woman drove away. I sat comfortably in a cozy purse. Soon I heard the car stop and the woman took the purse out. Mom, can we play outside? Asked the girl. Yes, answered her mother. Let's play treasure hunt, said the boy. Can we have a coin, Mum? I heard the purse being zipped open and a hand lowered down to me. It pulled me up and handed me to the children. They ran outside happily and began playing with me. One of them would bury me in the soil and the other would find me. After some time, the boy was going to hide me when a huge bird swooped down and carried me away. Stop, jackdaw! Shouted the boy. The jackdaw took no notice and continued carrying me higher and higher. Suddenly, an airplane flew past. The jackdaw squawked in fright and dropped me. I flew down with such force that as I hit the ground, I broke into 1,000 tiny pieces and lay there. Many years later, while drilling into the ground using a machine as big as a dinosaur, some people found the biggest part of me and after looking around, found most of my pieces. They sold me to a factory which manufactured me into a ring. I shone brightly. Once it was over, I smiled. My coin life was over and I was going to start a new life, a ring life. The end.
We hope you enjoyed this book baker story. For more fun content, check out our Instagram page or visit our website.